everybody. Welcome back to the NBHL Commish Chat Podcast. I'm NBHL Commissioner Anthony Sanrocco, joined by Gianni Sanrocco and TJ Janus as we take you through everything that's been going on in the league. And this is our off-season episode, so we'll go into some rules, some changes, all that sort of stuff. But fellas, how we doing?
Doing good. NBHL's finally into 2025, so off-season changes and ramping up for the season. I feel like I say that every single episode, but it's the truth.
It is genuinely true.
Yeah, no, it does feel good to officially get 2025 stuff really kicked off. I feel like, a lot of it's been like planning, but now we're actually rolling with teams submitting jerseys and logos and rosters and sponsors and all that. So to really get the gears rolling feels good.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a lot of our deadlines have hit lately. We've got a couple more coming when it comes to not every division had to finalize all their rosters and logos in the beginning of January. There's some that have later deadlines that are at the end of that. So by February 1st, we'll know exactly how many teams we have. We'll have all our logos in, all our rosters in, everything will be in the works. Yep. Most teams in a division this year, guess, so far.
I already know.
Well, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Tier 3 South Jersey. 16? 18?
We're at 17, possibly 18 right now.
I think last time you said it was 16, so
yeah,
things have been happening.
I think that's more than we started with in all of South Jersey in year one.
Is it?
I think we had didn't we have 8 and 8?
I don't know.
Maybe 8 and 10. So maybe it's tying.
Yeah. I don't know. But then Pittsburgh, close runner up, they've got 16 in their tier 3. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, 2 ball hockey hotbeds. It makes sense.
Yeah. Gee, I don't know what you have to tell us.
Yeah,
But
so I've got a story I've been hanging on to that happened a couple weeks ago. I felt I should make the best of it and tell it on the podcast and maybe get some good content out of it. So for those of you who are unaware, the NBHL is doing a promotional thing with bookies.com. If you go to bookies.com/NBHL, you can find promotional codes for different sports betting sites if you're a first-time user. So, as we're doing this promo, I decided I'm going to do it.
I'm going to take advantage of the
promo. And I'm a new user for a lot of these sites. Let me try it out. So I went to a undisclosed sports betting website because I don't think we're allowed to say specific ones.
No, you can't.
So I went to undisclosed sports betting website and I made my deposit. And along with my deposit, I got a free bonus bet.
Right.
So I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to throw it on something random. So I go and I find some 4-leg parlay for the Detroit Lions versus San Francisco 49ers game. And I put my bet on and I put the bonus bet on. And then I leave. I go to hockey. We have Garden State practice that night. I think I even talked to you about this bet at Garden State practice. And we finish the practice and the game is halfway over and one of my legs is hit. I'm like, all right, cool. Maybe this will go through. And I get home and the second leg hits. So I'm like, oh, wow. This bet might hit.
Okay.
So before I hop in the shower, I turn on the game and the Lions intercept the ball and they have it at midfield and my odds go up for my cash out. And it's telling me that I can cash out for $500. And it says bonus bet not included. So I think to myself, okay, I can cash out my initial bet and let the bonus bet ride. And I kind of hedge my bet where I get at least a little bit of money now. And if the whole bet doesn't hit, then at least I have something, right?
Right.
Not right. So when I hit the cash out button, I get my $500. The whole bet's gone. Bonus bet wiped away. I imagine there was something in the terms that says that when you cancel your bet or you cash out your bet, the bonus bet's just gone. And I just did not understand that. And immediately on this drive, the third leg of the parlay hits. And so I'm like, oh God. And I turn the game off. I'm like, I can't watch this.
Yeah.
And I turn the game right back on because I have to watch it. What else am I going to do? I'm not going to stop thinking about it. And on the final play of the game, or not final play of the game, but basically the play that iced the game, on 3rd and 10, Jahmyr Gibbs runs for a 30-yard touchdown and hits the fourth leg of the parlay.
Oh no.
So the odds here, I have it on my phone. So the odds were plus 3,567. Yeah. Do you want to guess how much the bonus bet was for?
Yeah, $75 or something like that.
$250.
Damn. Wait. Wow.
I would have won $8,000 had I not done this.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But I think if the bonus bet that's applied to it,
when I hit the bet, it said that's how much I would have won, $8,500.
Right. But of the 8,500 that you would have won, I think you probably would have had to still gamble. I don't think it would have let you withdraw, all of that. Because you apply the bonus.
I don't know. Either way, I did not get my $8,000 like a dummy.
I do some slots here and there, but you have to play through the bonus sometimes. So yeah, I don't know. That sucks.
So
That's ridiculous.
for those of you out there who are using bookies.com/NBHL and signing up for your free first-time user promotions, do not cash out your bonus bets. Let them ride because they do not stay if you cash out the original part of your bet.
Read the terms and conditions below.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Wow.
so I figured I'd let you guys hear that for the first time on the podcast and maybe make some good content out of it.
I mean, I will say, I think around Thanksgiving I did it. I used one of the, deals and I just lost all my money.
Yeah.
So
It's a hell of a bet, Jay.
that's tough.
I'll never hit that luck again. I don't think.
Did you like
Not with those
create it
odds.
or was it like
It was one of
like
the pre-made
pre-made?
ones. Yeah.
Damn.
So I just found like the ones with the longest odds. I was like, all right, yeah, let's just throw it all in
Yeah,
here and
yeah.
see what happens. And that's what happened.
Sucks. The stories you hate to hear.
Yeah, so make sure you always read the terms and conditions and don't cash out your bonus bets.
So
And
yeah,
use bookies.com/NBHL if you're a first-time user for any of these sites.
if you want to be heartbroken, do that. Wow, that's pretty unfortunate, Jay. Well,
Yeah, well, when got to make something out of it. So
Yeah.
here I am. It was a rough night, I will say. I kind of just moaned on the ground for like a good 45 minutes. Megan was pretty like unsure of how to like handle me. She's like, how can I make you feel better? I'm just like, you can't. I just got to kind of ride this out.
Yeah.
The only thing that I did that made myself feel a little better was I went to Wawa and I bought some Powerball tickets just to like have something to cling on to for hope. They didn't hit, obviously, but in the moment, I just had like a little bit like to
That
like
would
just
make me more depressed.
to hold on
showing
to.
up to buy a Powerball ticket.
I probably looked like a homeless person walking into that Wawa because I was in rough shape.
Yeah.
all right. Well, I don't know if I want to use the
No,
bonus
you
bet.
do, because that could happen, and you could just. This is a warning for everyone. You can do this and not be a dummy like me and let the bet hit.
Yeah, you gotta let it ride.
Wow. Well, yeah, bookies.com/NBHL. Give it a go. So I guess we'll get you out of your depression here. We'll move on from that. Timeline updates though. So deposits will be getting sent out soon to all the team managers. Difference for deposits this year, they're $1,000 as always, but it will include any extra jerseys you got. So if you've gotten a second set of jerseys, if you have players that got extra jerseys for themselves or for coaches or things like that that are not included in the league fee, that'll all be included in that deposit. So that'll be to you soon. By the time this podcast is out, it'll be probably en route. It'll be pretty close to happening.
And normally that second uniform or extra or custom uniforms, those are paid typically, on game day when you first show up, with the rest of your team fee, but we're just switching that over. You're still paying the same thing. It's just getting switched to this initial deadline because that's when we're collecting all the money for the uniforms.
Yeah. Get asked this a lot about roster swaps and people, we have the deadline, you submit your roster and people have had people fall off their roster. They're like, oh my God, is my team screwed? And the answer is no. You have up until March 25th to swap players in and out of your roster, out of your lineup. So say right now you're listening to this, say 2 minutes later, someone on your team texts you, says, hey, I can't make it for the season. You can take them off your roster. You can put a new player in that person's spot, but that new player will have to wear the jersey of the player they're replacing. But you can make those swaps up until March 25th. That's a hard deadline for the whole league. All the rosters freeze there. You can't make any changes after that unless for injury, but you do have flexibility up until that point. That March 25th deadline is also significant for our team sponsors. If your jersey deadline has not hit yet, you can still submit jersey sponsors. But if your jersey deadline where you had to submit your logo and everything is already hit, then you cannot submit any more jersey sponsors, but you can submit media sponsors, which go on social media, and that's it. And I think that's enough boring stuff. Well, I guess this is all kind of ball hockey, like nerd stuff. Like we're talking rules and changes and numbers and shit, but
Yeah, we started on a real high with the story at the beginning of the podcast, and we're just going.
We reeled them in real quick.
Yeah.
Smart tactic.
We got another great story for the end of the podcast. Just stick around, you'll hear it.
We actually do that.
Oh, we do actually. We do have a good one. So let's go into rule changes. So First thing is league-wide, the start of the season. We're starting last week of March this year because the North Americans A tournament got pushed to April 5th, 6th weekend due to, we say it was because of Becca and Evan's wedding. I guess it pretty much
Unforeseen
was, right?
circumstances.
I don't know if that's the official reason, but like I know their wedding is the weekend of the one tournament, so of when it usually is in mid-March. But
And a lot of the Garden State guys and other ball hockey people are going to that. So it would have been like a whole team missing if they had it during the same weekend.
But that basically took a weekend in April away from the NBHL. So we're like, okay, we'll just start the weekend before that. So now we'll start that last weekend of March. Not everybody is starting there. Only maybe, half of the divisions are starting on that day. But, we will have games earlier this year. But so let's get into Elite. We've talked about it in our past podcasts, but we finally announced our men's Elite. We finally announced our women's Elite. And Elite is our venture into a pro style model. This is not a professional league. Players still have to pay to play, but the format is different from tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Even our women's tiers and how they work. I mean, women's tier are a little more similar because they're both drafts, but the way the teams are managed, we interview, we hire general managers. They run all the day-to-day operations of the teams. There's 4 teams in men's, 4 teams in women's. They have their own specified, like we create the logos, the branding, the jerseys, all that sort of stuff. Players are registering on their own. They are drafted. Not everyone will get drafted. If you registered for women's or men's Elite, you're not guaranteed to get picked. I think right now for women's, we're looking at like half the players are not going to end up on teams based on the amount of numbers. We have significantly more registrations than last year. The men's are starting to amp up now, which is great to see. I think it had to get a little bit of, a little momentum going, but we're starting to see some numbers come in. So we're excited. NBHL.com, thenbhl.com. You can go register right now. And it's modeled after the Premier Lacrosse League, which, if you're not familiar, the PLL, it's now the highest ranking pro league for lacrosse in the US, founded in 2019 with a tour-based model. And the teams, they started with, I believe, 6 teams, did not have home cities. They just had their team names. And the games rotated to 12 major market cities, and all the teams would meet there, play a couple games, go to a different place, play a couple games, and they rotated all throughout these markets. So we're doing this on a lighter scale. We have 4 teams in each, men's and women's. They do not have a city attached to them. They have their names, and then we're rotating different cities. Last year we were in Maryland, we were in Buffalo. This year we're going to be in New Jersey, we're going to be in Pittsburgh. So we're going to keep rotating around as much as we can and getting exposure wherever we can do it. But we're, emulating a lot of the things that they do for our sport. They had 12 weekends or 12 cities they went to. We're doing 2. We don't have the time. And this is also self-funded. It's a little bit of a different aspect, but the goal of this is to grow it. We want this to become the professional ball hockey league, but this isn't something that can just happen. Like even right now, if we had the funding to go pro, like it doesn't even make sense yet because the audience is not built up to where it needs to be. Yeah. Like we need to build momentum. We need to build an audience to make this a more appealing to a mainstream audience. And right now we're a niche sport and we need to get out of that bubble. And this is our attempt to do that. This will be, our chance to bring the best players together, blend them together, showcase this game on the highest possible level that we can, besides, obviously the world stage. But, this will lead to interest from hopefully fans, sponsors, and, starting to offset some of this cost for players down the line and getting to that point. But it's going to take time. And we need, players we got to get the right players in this, and it's going to take time. But we're going to treat the players like pros. They're not going to be pros, but that's the goal, is to treat them like pros and hopefully become pros, like down the line.
You're not a pro, but feel like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty good slogan.
And I think that we feel like the sport of ball hockey, like has that potential for sure. Like the players are there, the talent's there. Like the sport itself is really exciting to watch. Like once you get reeled in as a player or a fan, like people love it. Like it's just, we got to get that out to people and get it in front of people. And I think once we do that, the momentum should take us there for sure.
Yeah. And it's going to take some time. Like even if you look at the NBHL now, like this year compared to year one, year one, there was an eighth of the amount of teams. If we started the COVID year, which got canceled, we had like 30 something teams.
Yeah.
Like this year we have
more than that in South Jersey.
Yeah,
right
we
now.
have over 40 in Jersey and I think over 30 in Pittsburgh. Like it's taking some time to get everybody to buy in. So this elite level, it's going to take time to gain that momentum. And, but we got to start somewhere. We're starting here. We're just going to kind of take it brick by brick and grow it. But
exactly what I was just going to say, brick by brick. Yep. It's a stepping stone. And I mean, it's just, you got to continue to build on it year to year. And the more buy-in from the players and, other stakeholders and all that stuff, that, the more successful it's going to be. And, I think it's, when we started this out, I don't think this was like the plan from day one, but like it's, evolved into this. And I think this is the right direction to go with it. So,
yeah, I mean, this is not going to happen overnight. This is going to take some time, but this is our venture into that, that world of, making our sport professional.
Yes.
But don't misquote this. This is not a pro league. Okay.
Nasher thinks it's pro.
What was that?
Nasher thinks it's pro.
Well, yeah, he did.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get yes. But so changes really, like the women's is returning. We are redrafting the teams. We're opening up the hiring process again for general managers, and we'll rehire people throughout January and February. Number of teams will stay the same for women's. We're going to keep it at 4. Men's will be at 4, obviously. But yeah, we're basically just starting over. I don't think that's the long-term plan. Like this year, we've added rules that there will be keepers and each team can keep up to 5 players in men's and women's. We're going to evaluate this. We're going to change it as the years go on. We're starting smaller with the amount of keepers just to make sure that we can keep the teams balanced and make sure that, if one team has a really good draft, great attendance, and they dominate and they have 5 of, we don't really know how it's going to play out, but we just want to keep it smaller now and we can inch it up as the years go on and make these teams have, better identities of, if you play on this team, you're playing with these guys and this is your captain. And we want to build those up, but we have to start a little bit smaller, but did not have that rule in place last year. We now have it this year and moving forward.
Yeah. I think just, that kind of goes hand in hand with trying to make it more professional, right? We want the teams to have an identity, have a history, have, some level of consistency from, each year going forward. So I'm excited to see what happens with keepers, but
yeah, it'll be interesting. And, the women's teams, they'll be the same 14 names. Men's, we have the names picked. We will not say them on this podcast.
Should we say how long it took us to pick them?
Oh, God,
it took way too
hours,
long.
Like months and hours of meetings.
And people are still going to hate them.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like we feel good about them. How many meetings do you think we had about these names? Like hundreds. Yeah.
Hundreds had to be. Yeah.
Yeah, there was one huge fist fight that came about it.
Yeah. I was in the hospital for like a week.
But you held your own.
I held my own.
Yeah, you held your own.
And we're all closer together for it now.
Yeah. But we did decide on names. Logos are in the process right now. So once we have all the branding aspects of those teams solidified, we will announce those. But yeah, so it's, 2 weekends this year. We pushed the timeline back a little bit. The World Championships tend to be in the, June, July months. So the idea was push it to after those because we don't want players to play in this and risk injury. And also that's huge travel commitment. So to make them travel for this or ask them to travel for this, maybe a couple weeks before or even a month before is a lot. So now it's, it's after, there's a little more time in between. And I don't know, you're not playing before the World. It's kind of a, post-tournament thing. So
makes it a little easier on our end too to, organize some things.
Yeah, no more back-to-back weekends of championships for us.
No,
we're not doing that again.
And
no more for the players either. Like I know there were some women's players last year that went right from Elite Weekend in Buffalo to the championship weekend in New Jersey with their women's teams. And that's a lot to ask out of a player.
Give them all the credit in the world.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But the 2 weekends, the first is August 23rd, 24th at the Inman Sports Complex in Edison, New Jersey. The second weekend is November 1st to 2nd at Murraysville Sports Zone, I believe it is.
Sportsplex, maybe?
Yeah, Murraysville Sports Zone, run by former women's commish, Jen Free. So yeah, 2 weekends, Jersey, Pittsburgh. Each team's getting 8 games plus playoffs and trying to make them feel like pros. That's the goal. Going to amp it up from last year. I felt good about what we did in women's. I think we have a lot to improve on, and I think we have good things in place to improve on those things. So it will only get better. It's going to be a different experience than anything within the NBHL. This is a totally different world. So,
and I think like similar to the regular NBHL divisions that we have where, you know, we created the league that we wanted to play in. Like this is the pro league that we would want to play in, you know, if, you know, that we envision. Like we're players in this too. Like we love this sport. And so like, you know, we get to grow it from like a your perspective as NBHL, but we also get to see it, you know, as players. Like this is like what we want to experience. And we have that, you know, that vision, you know, from a player side of things too. So I feel like sometimes I might get lost in the mix that, you know, we are seen a lot as just like, you know, people who run the league, but we do it as players too. And we love it as players too.
Yeah. This is what we want as much, like as players, as much as we do as business people. Yeah. Register now, thenbhl.com. Elite, let's get it going here. And now we'll step into some of our, you know, regular season tiers. We'll start with women's. They have 4 divisions returning from last year. Looks like the same amount of teams. We were close to getting a couple extras in, you know, if we were borderline, but it came down to actually goalies. Number of goalies was kind of an issue. At least in Maryland, we could have probably gotten close to a 5th team if we wanted to, but we did not have 5 goalies. So we were like, let's, you know, we'll keep it at 4. And we added a keeper component to women's as well. We don't have enough in women's team-wise to split into a tier 1 and tier 2. And the vision long-term is tier 1 would be salary cap based. You enter your own team. There's no draft. Tier 2 would always be a draft. So adding a keeper, and it's only 2 players, and just like the same with the elite, we're starting low and we can bump it up if it makes sense to. But the idea is to have some continuity with these teams. So you know who at least the captain is, who a couple of the scorers are going to be, maybe who the goalie's going to be, whoever they decide to keep. But it's an option. It's not a mandatory thing for teams. Teams can opt not to keep teams. I know some of our divisions operate a little bit differently in women's than others where, you know, Jersey, Pittsburgh, Mass, you've seen a lot of the same teams, team names and captains come back year after year. Maryland, you see a lot of different, you know, the team names change, the captains might change. They tend to do a redraft. So this won't be a mandatory thing. It just makes sense. You know, you'll forfeit a draft pick in order to keep your keeper. But we added that this year and we're going to evaluate that, see how that goes. The other thing is all 4 divisions will have their finals as a best of 3. Last year, we didn't have any best of 3 finals. And, you know, it was an option, but scheduling wise, it wasn't planned out for. And, you know, that's something that we probably should have.
Wow. Watch out.
To wear a helmet. That's something we probably should have, you know, on our end, pushed for a little bit more and tried to make happen. But it is tough to schedule these things. And with the tournament style schedules, the women's directors do an incredible job of managing this tournament and weddings and, you know, then there's rainouts and there's just a lot of stuff that goes into planning these. So it's difficult, but ahead of time this year, we went into it knowing that we're going to have a separate finals weekend with best of 3 for those finals. So that'll be exciting. And the other major change is now we will have 2 women's teams represent your division if you have 6 teams. So that means this year, Jersey and Massachusetts will get 2 teams at the NBHL championships and we'll have 6 women's teams competing instead of the 4 we've had in the past. So it'll be cool.
That's huge. I mean, I'm sure they get sick of playing each other and, you know, just opens it up a little bit more competition. And I don't know.
It does lose a little bit of that perfect symmetry with the schedule where you played every single team.
Yeah.
I just like elite will have that still with the 4 teams in each division. I really do like the fact that like you do get to play every team in the round robin, but it just makes more sense. There's more teams in the division. They should have more representatives. And you know, it's more hockey. We love more hockey.
Yeah, and I think both the Mass and Jersey finals last year were 1-0 wins. Like those teams were neck and neck with each other, so they deserve a shot.
Right.
And some more women's teams this year. So otherwise, women's staying relatively similar rule wise. Nothing major changes. I mean, a lot of the changes in tier 1, 2, and 3 are promotion and relegation and cap rules, which don't really affect the women's. But yeah, we're adding the keepers. Best of 3 finals, 2 teams to the NBHL championships. There's a couple little rules that you can find in the outline if you want to explore it. But yeah, 4 divisions, looking at 20 teams and excited.
Yeah.
So tier 1, 2, and 3. Tier 1, we've got 3 divisions this year. Buffalo is no longer a tier 1. So we've got Pitt, Jersey, Mass. Tier 2, we have 11 or 12. We will have something out by the time that this podcast is out to announce the 12th, if we do have it, which I'm 99.9% sure we do. We just have to finalize one thing. And then tier 3, again, we're in a similar situation. We have like 15 or 16 divisions. It'll come down to a couple things that we will know relatively soon on how many it'll be. But we're looking at, about 30 to 31 divisions across tier 1, 2, and 3. And one thing that we've added this year is a promotion and relegation system. And it's not every team that wins a division moves up or down. There's some specifics on it that you can find more in the outline. But the reason, if we've got 3 tiers of play here, if you're winning at the lowest level, you don't have anything else to prove at that level, at least locally. Like we should be pushing teams up. Yeah. And there's scenarios where teams go on a little bit of a Cinderella story, they win. So it's not every winner necessarily has to move up. It's if you're winning multiple years in a row, that's when it's like, okay, what are we doing down here? And we do have rules that some teams have used where you can win multiple years and stay down, but you have to get rid of your, top, I think 3 of your top 5 scorers, and it has to be your top 2. And it's a little complicated, but they have to reshape their top players on their roster in order to. But I mean, this is a competitive league. We want teams to move up. We want teams to want to play at that higher level and earn that spot moving up. So we're going to be pushing teams up, and we're going to add even further amendments to those rules that we will announce prior to the start of this season, because tier 3 this year is, I think, double the amount of tier 2 in like number of teams. And I know that there's a lot of those teams that are teams that would be competing in tier 2 that fall under our cap rules, which we have to update those. We have to fix those. And we got a lot of things in place that we want to add next offseason that'll help correct that on its own. But we do want to make sure players are playing at the level that they should be. And we're going to we'll establish those parameters. You're going to go into your season knowing, if I do this, I'm moving up next year. And you're going to know exactly how your roster can shape up. If you try to go against it, it's going to be a little more difficult to stay down. But I don't know. I think it was something that was overdue, something that we probably should have added years before, but it's just taken a while to kind of see how the tiers blend. And, tier 2 and 3, there's not as much drop off that we think that those top teams are going to move up and they're going to compete in tier 2.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, we want the players to play in the tier that they're supposed to play in. And I mean, this obviously helps avoid, sandbagging in the future. And I mean, I'm sure everyone listening has heard of a team that's probably doesn't deserve to be where they're at. So hopefully this, starts to counteract that, and, people are in the right place.
Yeah, I don't even necessarily I'm sure there are plenty of teams that should be moved up, but there's also individual players that should be, right, playing at a higher level that, maybe their team isn't going out there and dumbing everyone every week, but they're, a tier 2 caliber player playing in tier 3 or a tier 1 caliber player playing in tier 2. And, we want those players to play where they should be. It might not be with the exact same squad that you were with last year, but if you're a talented player, you should be playing at the highest level that you can be.
Yeah. And that's like another rule change we made this year, was we actually added like parameters on we changed our cap up a lot. Like players max out at a 5 now. It's half a point to 5 point system. If you're not on the most recent senior national team, the highest you can become is a 4. So the national team players are in that 4 to 5 range. Everyone else is 4 to below.
The recent 2 national teams, right? If you were on the previous national team, you're like a 4.5.
Yeah. It's the past 2.
Yeah.
Did I misspeak? Yeah. My bad.
Don't want people to start sending their cap lawyers after us.
But so if you're a 4-point player, essentially you're playing at the men's A level, you have to play tier 1 unless you can't. If you're a 4-point player, there's no tier 1 there, then yes, you get the exception. But if you're in Jersey, if you're in Pittsburgh, you're in Massachusetts, and you're playing men's A, you have to play tier 1. We also add restrictions to tier 3. For example, if there's no tier 2 above your tier 3, this rule does not apply. But if you have a tier 3 and there's a tier 2 above you and your 2 points are higher on the cap, you have to play in tier 2. So again, trying to keep these A level players in tier 1, these B level players in tier 2, again, making sure they're at the right spot, but we have to add some parameters on how we evaluate B and C level players, which is how we will look to update our cap for next year. But we've never had rules like that before. It has definitely been a little chaotic for teams. People have learned it a little late in the process, and might not have seen it in the outlines, but it has definitely shifted how some teams have formed this year. And then we added age restrictions too. If you're 45 or older, the highest you can be is 2. If you're 50 or older, the highest you can be is a 1. There's been some players who have played at high levels that have been ranked above that, and they have yelled at me for that. So we, probably made that a little more fair across the board for them. But you can look on our website again, our base values, everything is a little different on the cap. So it's worth reading into if you're playing at a level or if you're playing on a team where the cap is affecting you and you're up to like your maximum here, because it's different and it's gonna, it changes year to year. I wish we didn't have to change the cap every year. Like I really wish we could just be like, this is it forever. But every year things change. We learn new things. And like already we know that we're going to be making changes for this upcoming season just because of how these rosters have formed for this year.
Yeah, I think that's just the nature of where the sport is right now, is things are so fluid and it's just so hard to properly rank people in some ways. There's only so many resources that we have at our disposal to rank players without having to, I feel like we get it all the time. Like, oh, you should be like individually looking at each of these players. Like there's 4,000 players in the league.
Yeah, it's pushing 5 this year.
Yeah, pushing 5,000 players this year. We just can't do that. Like there is not enough manpower to get that done. So we need to have something in place that blanket applies to everyone. And on a year-to-year basis, it changes. Like where players play, what tournaments exist, what tournaments happen in terms of like, men's, or junior tournaments overseas, internationally. So I think for at least the foreseeable future, the salary cap is going to be like a living document for the next couple of years. Like I don't foresee it becoming static. I know that would be so nice for us to not have to look at it every year. But I think that's just the nature of like what this sport is right now.
Yeah, it's true. It's still in like its infancy, all this stuff. It's new. And, people give us a lot of shit and say we got it wrong. We have messed it up and they felt disrespected and we've done things like not the way it should be done. And they're right. Like we haven't got it perfect. Like we've definitely messed up a lot with this, and it's all, it's a learn. I've apologized to teams and people like, hey, like, we're sorry this affected you this way. Like we mishandled this. We're, but I do feel that we get a better understanding of it year after year. And, I feel good about the cap that we have this year. There's other things but like I said, we already know of things that we need to change for next year. But it's definitely better than year 1.
Yeah. And I would say like, there are a lot of those scenarios where, maybe we get it wrong for a certain player, a certain team. But I think those are outliers for the most part. I think that the way that the salary cap is applied to most players in the league is pretty fair. Like the league and the tier system and the salary cap, the way that players are evaluated, like especially when you come to the championship tournament at the end, like everything seems to shake out in a fairly competitive manner. Teams are competitive. They're, for the most part, no one's getting smoked out there. Where I feel like every year the salary cap is the best that it has been. And it does get better every year.
Yeah, I think Militia this year was the most lopsided we've seen a team come to the championships, and now they're in tier 1. So
Yeah.
So another rule we added this year is double rostering, and there's been a lot of questions on this. And we're allowing double rostering from tier 2 to tier 1, but only on tier 1 teams that are playing in tier 1 for the first time this year. So like our team, the Tortugas in Jersey tier 1, we are not eligible to double roster a player because we've been in tier 1 for all 4 years of the NBHL. But the new team that's coming in Jersey tier 1, the Atlantic City Roulette, they are a bunch of players that are playing in tier 1 for the first time. A lot of tier 2 players that are also playing, like they've played tier 2 in the past, they're playing tier 2 this year as well, but they're given tier 1 their first opportunity, really.
Yeah, and again, players eligible for this rule, they could not have played tier 1 last year. They have to have been in tier 2 the previous year or tier 3.
Yeah. Like you can't drop from tier 1 to tier 2 and be eligible for this. You have to be someone who's been in tier 2. And, a lot of these players who are taking advantage of this rule are people that might be playing with their friends who prefer to stay at the tier 2 level, and they have the skill set to play tier 1, but they'd rather play with their friends. So now they can do both and at least give it a shot, see what they like more, and kind of see what they want to do down the line. But I mean, we've talked about making this a rule for tier 2 and 3 next year. I think we're going to see how it all kind of shakes out. But yeah, new rule, double rostering has led to a couple new teams forming in tier 1, which has been great. We've got, a couple new teams up in Massachusetts, a couple new ones in Jersey. We've got Militia moving up there. So we're excited.
I mean, this will only encourage, teams to move up, players to move up, and, hopefully the players that do take their first crack at tier 1, do well, or, see it's not as bad as they may have thought it was or whatever. And, they bring a new team next year.
Yeah, that's the hope, is that these double roster teams solidify as just a solely tier 1 team. Right. And those players make the decision, I'm going to play tier 1. Like I played last year. I did well. I enjoyed it. Like this is the level I would like to play at.
Yeah.
And as someone who plays tier 1, it's a lot of fun. Like it's really competitive hockey. The teams, I feel like, care so much. Like it's, especially, I mean, I'm sure it's like that in Massachusetts and Pittsburgh too, but it's, some of the most intense hockey that I've ever played playing in tier 1. It's the Tortugas, the team that I care about, probably the most in my lifetime. Is I desperately want to win an NBHL championship with the Tortugas. Like this is like,
or a playoff game.
Yeah, or a playoff game. Yeah,
true.
Yeah, let's start there, Jay.
But like tier 1, it is so much fun, and I think that once these players get their feet in, some of these players who are hesitant, like you said, for reasons like they want to play with their friends, or maybe they just didn't feel like they can compete at that level. I feel like once they get their legs in it, they're some of them I'm sure are going to go back, but I feel like that we're going to get a lot that end up solidifying.
So it's a 1-year trial year. You can't do it back-to-back years as a player. You're going to do it 1 year, but the next year you got to decide where you're going to stay. But you get your chance, see what it's like.
And there are players that are not taking advantage of this rule that, could form into another team the following year, Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is education on the rule. Like I think now that the rule exists, people might not have known about it when rosters were forming. And now there might be people like, oh, I didn't realize that existed. I want to do that next year. So, and then, like I said, it'll depend on how things play out in tier 2 and 3, but I think this is something we could possibly do there as well, because there are teams that have won tier 3 divisions who have made their case on why promotion does not make sense for them. And it's valid. It's like, oh, okay. It actually doesn't make sense for you to move up because you'd go 0-10. You wouldn't have a good season. So this would give those teams a way to move up and then pick some other good players in tier 3 to, solidify that roster and hopefully keep building players up to move to those higher levels and allow new players to come in at the tier 3 level and get established. Cause that's kind of the goals for all that. But so that's an interesting one. That rule took a lot of conversation to figure out, but we did it, boys.
Yeah, that was a long one.
I feel like it's something that we've kicked around a little bit in the past too, and we could just never, I feel like, get it right.
And we were just like always against kind of like double rostering in general, right? Like,
but I think it makes sense at this point. Yeah. It's good for the growth of the league. It's good for the growth of the players.
Trickle up economics or something like that.
And it's good for the teams that exist in tier 1
That's
too.
why we did it. Yeah.
Like, the teams in tier 1, they want more teams to play against and compete against. And the teams that have formed because of this rule, I feel like are really competitive. At least the ones that I've seen in my division here in New Jersey, like I'm not expecting any easy games, especially not from the two teams that are forming because of this rule.
No, definitely not. Other rule for more of an NBHL championships rule is the rule in the past has been for tier 1 for affiliate players. If you have players that cannot make it to the NBHL championships, you have to call up players within your local tier 2 that's below you. We're getting rid of that. That's not the rule any longer. Now you can call up anybody from any tier 2 in the country. So basically you have, 65 AHL teams at your disposal that you can call up to your tier 1 team.
They have to be equal or less, correct? Right?
Yep. And points, cap, all that stuff has to be equal. But yes, you can call up players from tier 2. Tier 2, the rule remains the same. Tier 3 players or free agents. And tier 3, the rule has changed where you can use anybody within your tier 3 or a free agent. So an example of this was one of the California teams who qualified. They did not have enough players to make it, but they had another team in their division that was like, hey, we can fill the second half of this team and we can bring the team over. At the time, that rule was not allowed, but it makes sense, like, especially for the teams that are traveling from the West Coast and further away, like, give those players an opportunity to get out there and, form more competitive rosters that will be able to, make a go at this. So tier 1 can use anybody in tier 2. Tier 3 can use anybody within their own tier 3 to fill out their roster if they qualify. So age restrictions, we've always allowed some 15-year-olds to play in the league if they apply and they play at a high level. We're only going to allow that in tier 1 and 2 this year. Tier 3, we're not going to allow 15-year-olds. So small tweak to the rules here. And then for the NBHL championships too, for tier 3, we've changed it. So in the past, it was if you had 8 or more teams, you had two that qualified. Now it's going to be if you have 16 or more teams, you have 2 that qualify.
It's a ridiculous number.
Significant increase.
Yes. So basically it's double tier 2.
Yeah.
So Jersey and Pittsburgh will qualify for that. They will get a second team at the tournament. But if you have less than 16 teams, you will have
just the champion.
Just the champion will qualify.
Big rule change here.
Yes.
Well, not a rule change.
Just reinforcing no Heelys. You cannot wear Heelys for games. We've had so many people try. So many.
I know the Healy incident in Georgia last year was.
Oh my God.
We can't talk
the refs
about
reported
that.
so many. Yeah.
Yes, there was so much blood.
But if Healy's wants to sponsor, we'll rethink the rule.
Yeah. Healy's reach out.
I guess similar to the potential Healy League is our new tier of Legends League, which is 45 plus. Got 5 divisions we've been promoting right now. We've got Jersey, Pitt, Mass, Long Island, good to go. I'm sorry, Jersey, Pitt, Long Island, Buffalo are good to go. Mass is still up in the air. We're still trying to get some more registrations in. We have not been as clear on format as we should have been. That's honestly my error more than anything. We're going to have some graphics out to explain it soon, but we definitely have 4 divisions. We're working on getting Mass off the ground, but 45 plus draft format, basically the exact same format as our women's tier. We've got captain's pick for Jersey, Pitt, and Buffalo. Long Island's going to be a little bit on a further behind timeline, but drafts are going to be happening. By the time you hear this, drafts will have already happened, and we're excited. They're going to get their own NBHL championships. We've had a lot of players in this age bracket have reached out to us over the years saying, hey, let's make this happen. And there's just been more than ever that have said, hey, let's get a Masters type division in here. So we're here. NBHL Legends should be fun.
I'm excited for those guys because, if I was of that age and I saw the NBHL blowing up and I'd missed out on that opportunity at some point, I would be a little upset. So it really gives them the opportunity to be, more a part of it.
Yeah, my father-in-law, 2 years ago at Thanksgiving, we ran into one of his friends and he mentioned that, I played street hockey growing up. I played for Belmar and, I haven't played in a while. I'd love to get back into it. And I was talking to him about the NBHL. I was like, I don't think I could hang with those guys. And when we announced the Legends divisions on social media, he signed up. He's like, I'm getting back into ball hockey. Like, I'm
yeah.
breaking out my old gear. Like, he's pumped to
Just
play.
threw you a
again.
layup.
That's cool. He's about to re-enter his athletic prime.
Yeah.
But yeah, Legends, we'll have either 4 or 5 divisions. We'll have all the champions meet at the NBHL championships. They'll have their full tournament. And we'll have our first.
Legendary team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy shit.
This division is purely selfish so that we can dominate in 2 decades, right? Or for Anthony, 1 decade.
Hey, don't you dare.
Don't you dare.
And then NBHL championships. So last year it was split. Tier 1 was in Buffalo. Tier 2, 3 women's were in Jersey. This year, all 5 are back in Jersey. Hopefully the weather holds up.
I'll lay out a nice prediction again for this year. Get us some good mojo.
Right now?
Yeah. All right. Right now, prediction. Way too early prediction for the weather. We are going to get a massive rainstorm after the last game is wrapped up Sunday night, like 9:00.
Okay.
That's it. Nothing else.
That's the worst possible prediction because I'm going to be nervous all day Sunday.
That's okay.
Oh,
It'll go off. It'll go off
hated
without a
that
hitch.
prediction. I hated that. I hope you're so wrong.
I hope I'm exactly right.
Just like your bet was wrong. I hope you're wrong.
Yeah.
Well, my bet was right.
Well,
All right.
That's true, actually.
It's just how I handled it was wrong.
yeah.
But yeah, all 5 tiers will be there. It'll be, I think, over 50 teams will be there. So we'll have definitely a different complex, but Marge Martin Sports Complex, Gloucester, GT, whatever you want to call it, they will be the main facility. Then we'll have either 1 or 2 different facilities we'll use outside of that as well. Someone asked me the other day if it was in Edmonton, Alberta. It's not. I don't know where anyone
It was
thought.
a close second place, but didn't
Yeah.
quite make the cut.
It was either Edmonton or Jersey.
Maybe we
but
could do one of the off-site rinks in Edmonton. They'd love that, right?
I forget who asked me that, but they're like, yeah, we heard that. And I'm like, what I think happened is they heard Edison for the elite and they thought that's what they might have misunderstood. But that was funny. It's like, yeah, we'll ship the entire
Operation to Edmonton.
Yeah.
Sick. Actually, probably not. Oh, it's good with Edmonton.
So that's in contrast to it being in Buffalo last year for Tier 1. Tier 1's going back with all the other divisions. And then the men's and women's elite are going to have their own weekends instead.
Yep.
Because last year, I think we wanted to showcase the highest level of play. And at the time, it was Tier 1. But now it's going to be the elite division.
Yep. Yeah. And if you're coming to Jersey, if you qualify, you're playing Friday. Might start even earlier than last year on Friday. So get ready. Get ready to get there Friday morning, Thursday night, whatever it takes. But we got to use more of that Friday than ever. I mean, we'll do a mock schedule. Maybe it's a chance that it's only Friday night games, but we don't know for sure. I usually do the mock schedule in about April once we have divisions, teams solidify. We know exactly who's going to make it there. But just setting expectations. Friday will be in beautiful New Jersey. But yeah, that's the main rule changes. I'm sure there's stuff we did not touch on. If we did not touch on something that you want to hear about, we're going to do another podcast. So tell us.
Or
and we'll
go on the
talk about
website and feel free to check out all the outlines and rules and all that stuff.
I guess last thing we want to touch on real quick is our national tournament, which was a blast.
Yeah, it was pretty
sweet. Yeah. Nasher and the Heat guys were awesome hosts. They were just good dudes. They loved hockey. They aren't ball hockey guys. They wanted to give it a shot. They did. They did not fare very well, but I think they were the most relieved team I've ever seen to lose on a playoff Sunday.
Yeah.
I think they did not want to continue, but they did well.
It's not like they're obviously, if you've seen their videos, they're good at hockey. It's just ball hockey conditioning and just like not skating. Like those guys are such good skaters, and just taking that away is just like such a difference in the game.
The first game they came out like in like shin pads, socks, like looking like roller hockey, ice hockey type players. And then by like their third game that day, they were in like shorts and like t-shirt, like lightweight equipment. Basically, they kind of figured it out. And I think like you were saying, G, I think like the ball around their feet, like, we're so used to like, we have that sense of like where it is, and like they're just like running at the same time. It just felt a little
They play with
off.
the puck too.
Yeah,
like it's a
that's
different
true.
game. But they did, but like the third game, like their playoff game, they looked like they were really, I mean, they lost 5-4 in a shootout. Like they started to get it. Like they looked a lot better. I remember when we got there, we got to the rink and Cody and Hinsey were shooting around, full uniforms,
Full unis.
had to be shooting content,
Yeah.
but full uniforms shooting around, and like you could just see like their shots were insane.
Yeah.
Like you could see the hands, like you could just see how good they were, and I was like, damn, these guys might be pretty good at this. Like this will be interesting to see, but the games happened, and
Yeah, I think the conditioning was the ultimate, killer. But
yeah. But
no, I was happy and like appreciated that they did take the chance. Nasher took the chance. I mean, he posted 2 YouTube videos about ball hockey, pro ball hockey.
Yeah.
So it was, it was awesome to see that, he embraced it a little bit. And, we all got to chat with him, with Nasher, and he, great dude.
Yeah, it was just, I've never seen Nasher do anything not in skates when it comes to hockey. It was, like you said, like it was really cool of them to give it a shot. But yeah, they went 0-3.
And the rink is sweet.
Heatwave Arena is awesome.
Yeah, if they have a tournament there, go. Like it was.
Yeah, it was funny. Like the deck or floor, whatever, was just like pure white, and like they play roller. But by the end of the tournament, all the shin guards sliding and stuff, it was just like marked up like crazy. So kind of felt bad about that, but they were okay with it.
They have like a little like rink Zamboni that they throw on there to clean it up, which was really like cool. Like I don't think I've ever seen something like that for ball hockey.
I think we had to tape down the blue lines too. So like at the end of the night or the tournament, I'm pulling up the blue line and I could see like the fresh white, and it was just like clearly different. But yeah. And then, when we were there, we went to the Blue Jackets game. I think that was the night we got in.
I saw my old buddy, Zach Wierenski. Is he on the, here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get, we were chirping him from the stands, and Garage Beer, very big in Columbus.
Yeah.
So they were selling that in the arena.
That's where they're from Ohio, right?
Yeah.
That's where their founder is.
Of course.
Yeah, because we walked up to the one stand that was selling Garage, and we were all excited. We were taking pictures, and the guy's like, "What's going on here? Like, why are you guys taking pictures?" And we're like, "Oh, they sponsor our hockey league. We like them."
And wait, we get this. We at the arena, and I think Stribe goes to get food in Columbus as someone from South Jersey, was adjacent to Philadelphia, and he gets a cheesesteak.
Oh yeah, that was.
Where'd he get a cheesesteak?
At one of the stands in Columbus. Like, not to I'm sure like you're not in Philadelphia, man. Like you don't have to get a cheesesteak. Like get something else. Like get some local food. I got their hot dogs that they put. Wow, what crazy thing were they putting on the hot dogs?
Spaghetti.
Yeah, the spaghetti or the spaghetti and chili hot dogs or whatever.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was pretty good.
Skyline chili.
Skyline
chili.
chili.
Yeah.
And I liked it. It was good. But like, you're somewhere like new, like get something different. Don't get a cheesesteak, which is just not going to be as good as it's going to be at home.
I'm pretty sure I got the cheesesteak too, actually, now that I think about it.
You're shamed too then.
Unbelievable.
I mean,
You lose your cheesesteak.
love a good cheesesteak.
Yeah. Yeah. Tournament went well. The games were great. We saw a kind of like we learned again, if we do another tournament like this, we have to set some more strict cap rules, because we pretty much ended up with a lot of guys on the 7-1-6ers playing, a lot of guys that were on the Royals that play in the Tier 1 championship playing in the finals, which is supposed to be like a lower level tournament. But the game was insane. They were the
Reapers.
The Reapers won. That was the Buffalo. They had the 7-1-6ers players and a bunch of other Buffalo Tier 2 players on their team. They won in overtime. The ending was great. The Royals played a hell of a weekend, and like everyone who came out, like it was a lot of travel. So we appreciate everybody making it out there. Helped us out. It was a lot of fun. I mean, our plan was just to stay the night Sunday, right? But we just booked it back home.
Yeah.
And Gianni did the most psychotic thing.
Do you want to tell? You want me to?
I guess it's your story to tell.
Yeah, I was the only one awake because we drove my car. I've got a hybrid, so I get really good fuel mileage. So we drove my car, and it's
not
a truck.
A big deal.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, not a big deal. Big hybrid guy.
EV.
And it's a truck, so we could fit a lot in the back because we brought a lot of like store, like things,
Stuff for the tour
that we need to store, like jerseys and merchandise and just like different stuff like that. So I drove half of the way there. Anthony drove another half of the way there, and I get in the car, drive home, and it's pretty late at night. And Anthony takes the first like hour or so, and I take a little power nap to get ready because this is like 7 or 8 at night. We got like a 7 hour drive home.
Less credit. I think he took at least 2 or 3 hours.
I think I did at least 2 or 3.
I'm gonna give you 2 hours.
Yeah.
And so after during that 2 hours, like you and Stryber are
we were like chatting a little bit.
Yeah, I dozed off a little bit, and then
I think we were talking about team names for Elite.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. That's where the fist fight started, probably. Yeah. And then when you started getting tired, I switched off and I took the rest of the drive all the way home.
And this is like, at this point, probably like 11 midnight. Like it's pretty late at this point.
So I didn't want to disturb them as the only one awake. So I drove home with no music on.
He drove in silence for 5 hours.
We didn't listen to a song until we were like 10 minutes from the office.
And of course, what song did I put on? None other than Heatwave.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only song we listened to.
We listened to one song on the entire ride home, and it was Heatwave.
And then I turned it off after I played it, and then we drove the rest of the last 10 minutes home.
Yeah, we literally only listened to that.
It was
song.
like I don't know. I guess it was when we were getting close. You're like, Gianni, did you not listen to a single song the entire ride?
I'm a courteous driver.
Oh my god!
Like, what were you doing?
No,
I was just thinking.
I was just in the driving zone.
I was just thinking, oh, dude, I would lose my mind. I would
Like
lose
hours.
my mind.
It was an hour. Like no headphones. Like there was nothing.
I would have been like,
I don't need it.
you guys, I'm turning this up. Like,
I'm built different.
yeah. God, I could not be alone in my like own thoughts for that long.
I had snacks to occupy me. I drank like 2 Mountain Dews during that.
Yeah, but that's not entertainment. Oh wait, actually, yeah, you're good. You're good.
It's entertainment for my mouth.
Yeah.
Don't take that out of context.
Also, on the way there, I forgot we stopped in Wheeling, West Virginia. Remember that?
Yeah, I got tacos.
Yeah, I got tacos in West Virginia.
Like, yeah, we're gonna stop in the little sliver of West Virginia just cause.
Well, Stripe found some like great reviews on some tacos. And to be fair, it was like, what, $10? We got all you can eat tacos.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I remember I called Megan, like just while we were stopped, just like check in. She's like, oh, like, where are you? I'm like, we're in West Virginia. It's like, what? Like there's a little bit of West Virginia we passed through to get here.
Yeah. But we had to make a stop.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad drive though.
No.
Not that I drove, but.
No, I mean, really, it wasn't. Like, it was pretty smooth sailing, like there, and well, we were driving through like midnight to get back, but like it was pretty smooth sailing. And then
I'd go to Columbus again though. Nice city.
Yeah, it was cool. It went well.
Yeah, hopefully maybe we'll be back in the future to host another tournament there.
Yeah,
I don't know if the Heat guys will want to get their shoes back on for it, but
we'll see.
Yeah, well,
the NBHLers who came and played seemed to have a good time.
Yeah, it was fun. It was cool. Yeah, Gianni's a psychopath, and we made it home, and we're here. So,
I got another crazy person thing that I did I could talk about too on the podcast for content over this weekend.
Sure. We're on to the podcast now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, not the office dog. I have a dog, Lily. She's an English Springer Spaniel. I'm in love with the breed. And Saturday, I got a text from the breeder that we got her from. And was like, hey, there's a family in North Jersey that just got a puppy and they need to give it back. Because like their daughter's like is like afraid to death of this dog. And Sunday I had the dog and I have a new puppy now. So within like not even 24 hours of learning of this dog's existence, I was at the breeder's house picking up the dog. So I've got a puppy at home right now, and that's great. A lot of work. So me and Anthony are doing puppyhood together.
Yeah. Well, I'm past the chaotic stage, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm still in that. Well, especially because I have a second dog at home too, and she's getting used to having another dog in the house. So yeah, it's a lot of
3 NBHL puppies in the company now.
In the office is about to become a kennel. That's our side hustle. Is we tell the interns they got to be dog friendly, and they walk in. There's like 13 dogs in this room. They're the hell am I? Oh my god! Well,
that would be good.
Is that everything? I think
we hit it all.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy New Year. And yeah, we'll have another podcast soon. I guess we'll start doing these more frequently again. So if you're still here, thanks for listening, and
see ya.
Yeah. Bye.
See ya.